in Gallagher.
How is it there tonight, Andy, in Lower Glenburn? Is it
in Lower Glenburn? It's a wee bit windy, Gary. What about yourself?
Yeah. A wee bit windy as well, Andy. What kind of show we got prepared this evening?
I was going to say we're off and running, but actually, Gary, I've got a confession to make because we spoke earlier on.
Yeah.
And I had planned to go out running tonight, as we've said, folks. And hello to everyone who's joining. I've started back running in an attempt to shed some middle-aged spread, and I was supposed to go out with my daughter.
Elizabeth.
5K. There's Elizabeth just rubbing in the warm temperatures there. 5K I was going to do tonight, and I chickened out, Gary.
You never.
I did. I chickened out. And I thought, when I see Gary tonight, he's going to go through me.
You were working up to chickening out, so you eventually just chickened out.
Totally. I saw the wind and the trees were giving it all of this outside, and I just thought, I'm no going to go out and run in that. So,
what about that Superman outfit that you bought last week, Andy? Would that not have done the job?
No. But
you invested in leggings and never used them. leggings in a rain, mate.
Going to dig out the Pack-a-Mac.
Oh, you're a blouse. Are you allowed to say that in these days?
Probably not, Gary. You can't say anything.
Well, I'll take it back.
Taking offence. So we've got to be.
I'll be hauled over the tools.
I've got to be aware of our broad and wide audience, to which we welcome you all. Great to see you all on our viewers, Gary, not our watchers, our viewers.
Viewers, yes, we've got viewers, and we've went out into a wider network this week, Andy. We've went on to LinkedIn. What's that?
Oh my goodness. And welcome to all our professional viewers this evening. If you wear a shirt and tie for a living, welcome. You're great to see you joining us tonight. But yeah, we've been out on Twitter, we've been out on Facebook, but this was the first of our 46 episodes that's featured on LinkedIn, Gary.
I know. I need to be kind of. You get one of the things you put around your neck, and it's a kid-on shirt and tie.
Oh, a clip-on job.
We shirt and tie. But that's okay. 46 weeks we lasted, Andy, and we eventually made it to the higher echelons of LinkedIn.
I know. Well, listen, great to have everyone that's in this evening. We'll get a few folks that we know. We're all good, Grant. Thanks for asking. Who else have we got coming in? Well, Norma, yep, it's wet and miserable where Norma is. Claire's in. There for the next panto. I missed the thread of that one. Is that for us?
Whom? But the weather is terrible, Andy, really, isn't it? I mean, it isn't really weather for jogging, but if you've got the wind behind you and you've got your app, then your time's up and you'll be thinking, post that next week. I'll keep that posting that next week. That'll be me. I'll be a 46-minute run down to 40 minutes.
Well, I've been my times are coming down, Gary, which I'm happy about, but just too dreich and miserable tonight. But anyway, Gary, how's your week been?
All right.
Another all right one.
All right. I mean, I've got a lot on the go at the moment, Andy, as you know, and I'm trying to juggle a few things and things to settle down. But here's some news. I went out a run on Sunday.
Off.
I went out a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't run round Gallagher. I got to the top of Dundonald Road and had to stop. I thought, what's wrong with me? I used to be able to do this. So I went down the bottom of the road, and I thought, I'll turn left or turn right. So if I was going to turn right, it was going to be a short run.
Right.
If I was going to turn left, it was going to be like 3.5 miles.
Okay.
So I got to the bottom of the road and I turned left.
Good for you.
I did all right. I stopped a few times, but I kept going. I was walking, stopping type of thing. I didn't stop. But it was a real struggle. My legs are really sore.
Well, I've got a friend that runs a lot, and he told me a run to do, which is now known as the Fulton, because that's the chap's surname. And he probably does it, in, I don't know, it's a 5K, so he probably does it 20 minutes or something like that. But that was my first Fulton of the year, and it was a bit of a struggle, but I did enjoy it. But I'll get back into the swing of things. And has anything caught your eye this week, Gary? Because usually we always talk about things that have caught our eye. Anything caught your eye this week?
A few things have caught my eye, Andy.
Go on.
But I've not prepared a caught my eye this week. I've been really bogged down with other stuff. But probably the biggest thing that caught my eye, just to talk about it,
go on,
is the breaking news on the Pace Exchange Theatre, which I think is fantastic news. Really fantastic news.
Brilliant news. And what's the specific breaking news, Gary?
They're asking for your dosh. So that's they've got this wall. I think it's £1 million wall.
They're looking to raise £1 million.
Yeah, so you can chip in, you can get your name in the wall, you can put your logo on it. Here's a nice segue. If you're a business, you can have your business logo on the wall and you can sponsor the wall. There you go. How about that for professional broadcasting, Andy?
Well, that was professionally done, Gary. And given the fact
you looking it up
tonight, well, I'm going to put the link on for the Pace Exchange. But it's great. So that's the old mannequins, isn't it? It's going to get converted into the brand new theatre. So good luck to our friends at Pace. We wish you all the best. Fantastic. And no doubt, because
really good, Andy. You know where it is, don't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Backsnethan.
Yeah.
Aye, we've had the Exchange Paisley. There it is. I'll try and get some links up as we're talking. But we've had the folks on from Pace telling us a little bit about it. So it's absolutely fantastic that this is moving forward. And we'll get the links up there. Facebook, it is just very simply facebook.com Exchange Paisley. So make sure you check that
really good news, Andy. Cracking location. Come out the train station. You're in the theatre, or if you're travelling to train there, or an extension of what Pace does, it's right in the town centre. So it's fantastic news, not just for the people at Pace and their friends at Pace, for the young people that attend there. It's fantastic news for the regeneration of the town. Really good news. So that caught my eye, Andy. Is there anything that caught your eye?
Well, I was going to talk about that in a wee second, but I wanted you to talk about our wee post in memorial to David Rowand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was sad news, wasn't it, Andy?
It was. And do you want to tell folks that maybe don't know about David's, his background and what's happened there?
Well, I don't know a lot about David. I met David once, actually. It was at a Burns supper that I get invited along to. But my knowledge of him is that he's a forerunner of all things Paisley. So if Paisley Community Trust existed in his day, then David would have been central to it.
Oh, absolutely.
But he was definitely a champion for Paisley. He's a well-known face in and around the Paisley people, and very highly regarded, Andy, and a very sad loss to the town.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, heritage and history, all about Paisley was his thing. His depth of knowledge was huge, and also published a number of books in his time in connection to Paisley. Paisley, Silver Threads and Golden Threads. So very sadly passed away. So our thoughts and condolences obviously go out to David's extended family and friend network, which I'm sure mourning the loss of a great supporter of the town.
Yeah, of course, Andy, and still quite young. In early 70s is still quite young. In this day and age. Yeah, but, so very sad.
Yeah, and it's great to see there's a number of Facebook pages out there on Paisley that are focused on heritage and history within the town. So that's great to see that. David's stories and his writings will probably live on. So that's great. One of the things that caught my eye this week, Gary, and I know we always have to shine, a positive light on stories that happen in the town, but occasionally some no very nice things happen in the town and some parts of a town. And I don't know if it caught your eye, but the vandalism, Gary, that happened down at Barshaw Park was really quite saddening to see.
Yeah, I did notice that. I mean, particularly since we had highlighted Barshaw Park in one of our questions of the week, the bandstand, and the real positive feedback that you get from people related to the park, and
Yep.
I've been in and around and down and about the park and how popular it is these days, and it's one of my favourite views. It's there.
Aye. That one you get printed. Oh, Gary, you frozen? Gary, come in, Gary. Folks, we seem to be having technical difficulties. Gary, as you can see, has frozen. And yeah, he's gone. I'm going to have to take Gary out from the studio here and see if we can get him back in. So whilst Gary sorts himself out with his technology, he clearly needs to put another 50p in the meter. You've got myself for a moment. Please do not change your channel. We'll get this technicality sorted as soon as we possibly can. But whilst Gary is still trying to get on, I wanted to talk about the vandalism that we obviously saw in the news down at Barshaw Park. And we are great supporters of everything that goes on. Barshaw is a fantastic asset in the town. And I guess what we would love to see is us, Paisley making better use of it. But vandalism is just, in this day and age, it's really not acceptable. And for the whoever carried this work out, really disappointing to see. But there is always a silver lining to the cloud, and it is this. And they're already out raising money, which is great to see. Let me just bring in our Gary. Can you hear me?
No.
What happened there, Gary?
I don't know. Well, that's me. Hold on.
Oh no, I've got two Garys.
No, we've had this before.
Right, get that removed. Right, hold on, Gary.
Yeah.
Right, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Gary?
Yes, I can.
Yes,
Here
Gary.
I'm off.
Did you trip over a cable, Gary?
Hey, that happened earlier. Honestly,
I
don't know what's going on, Andy. It's the wind. I've got the Houston wind.
I was having to fly solo for a moment there, Gary, which was most unusual. But let's get back onto track because we've got a cracking show lined up. But I was just there talking about the vandalism, and the silver lining to all of this, Gary, is the good folks down at Barshaw Park are now raising money, and it's at £1,462 out of £1,500. But folks, all you need to do is jump onto GoFundMe, type in Barshaw Park, and I'm sure you'll find the link. And if you can spare a couple of quid to help out the good folks down at Barshaw to get things back on a track, and ultimately, if you're down in that area, staying vigilant so that the vandalism doesn't happen again.
That's not on, Andy, is it?
It's not on at all, Gary. So we've got 1,500 quid to raise. Jump on to GoFundMe. I'll try and get the link. I'll get it up on the screen, and hopefully you can spare a couple of quid to help them out.
We'll put that on the social media. I would imagine later on.
I will be doing that as we speak, Gary. So another wee thing that caught my eye was following up from last week's show, because last week's show was truly international.
It sure was, man. It sure was.
Is that your Australian accent there again, Gary?
That was a hybrid. I don't know what I was doing there.
Or was that a Houston accent?
I'm not doing any stereotypes tonight. I get pulled up for my Australian stereotype.
Oh,
I said good day. I went, good day. And I went, oh, you're Australian. You're Australiast.
You were only trying to kind of speak the lingo, Gary.
I was only, what, does that count as one word or two words? It was one word.
Well, Gary, it was a brilliant programme last week, a brilliant show. It's a brilliant show last week. How's your tea, Gary, this evening?
It's no tea, Andy. It's orange juice. I get tea when I go back. See, that this is how everyone in the world is different, Andy, and we need to We need to just what's the phrase I'm looking for?
No
we
idea.
just need to express ourselves differently, and be really happy that we're all different. So I get tea when I go back out of the road, and I get orange juice in my merch. And anyway,
the
guys, this is the Gary mug. The Gary mug.
I don't know if we had an Andy mug and a Gary mug, which one would be the better seller?
Are we going to have a vote? So this week's question of the week is the Gary mug or the Andy mug?
And there's Alice, Friends of Arshaw do a great one. Councillor Devine, unfortunately, it's happening all over Paisley. It is, and it'd be interesting to know, Gary, if the vandalism spike has happened as a result of COVID, and if it has, what can we do about it? You know, because it's just not on.
I think there's a lot of things I've noticed, and I don't know if it's. I mean, there is no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it, but it must be really, really tough for people out and about there. And I mean, I'm going to take it, but there's no excuse for it. There is no excuse for tearing up your town.
No, and I know it's lockdown right now, and I know that, you know, clubs are closed and this is done and that's done, but actually we had the folk on from Create last week, and this is what we were talking about, and there's tons of stuff. That's what we said. There's tons of stuff, whether you get involved with Create, whether you get involved with Right to Dance. There's a lot of stuff that you can do online. Surely you got to do something then than going out and pulling up plants and smashing park benches.
Yeah. And hopefully, as things, maybe if I had a slight excuse there, which I don't want to labour the point, but if there is a silver lining coming out of COVID and we are coming out of it, and maybe we get back to normality, and I would actually like to challenge everyone to think what normality is going to be, because definitely in a town centre context, what we're about, Paisley Community Trust, then normality is town centres and the focus is town centres. So I would like to think that there's a wider context there in community and society at large, that we want to challenge ourselves to make everything that we do better, and what we try and do better, and if it means embracing young people in particular and giving them an outlet for their energy, then we need to find a way of doing it.
100%, Gary. You know, it's definitely something that we need to think about doing, and Paisley Community Trust exists for all ages. So if you are in the community, if you are younger of age and you're thinking there's nothing to do, get in touch with us. We'd like to hear your opinions. We'd like to hear, you know, what, you know, are the challenges that young people are facing and what you would like to see in the town, because it's your town. You've got the opportunity to shape it. So get involved. What are the challenges that are out there, and how can we all work collectively together to improve our town? Anyway, Gary, we must move on because we've got a cracking show planned this evening with some brilliant guests lined up.
This is our first serious show, Andy, our first really serious show. And we need to get down to brass tacks tonight and talk numbers, because that's what business is all about, isn't it?
Oh, numbers. Well, business numbers is part of it, I guess. But
no. It's all about numbers.
You got to have the right products. You got to have the right services. You got to have the right approach to your market. But we're going to be bringing on a couple. We're going to big them up now. A couple of experts, Gary.
And they better not talk about numbers. They better not just talk about numbers, because this is a very diverse audience we've got here, and they no pressure, but they're here tonight to make business funky.
Funky business, fine.
We've got a funky business tonight. There's two business experts on tonight, Andy, and there's no pressure. So we're not talking about numbers. All we're talking about is funky business. They didn't know that that's what the show was about.
Well, listen, why don't we get our first funky guest on? And you've got to be really careful how you say that, guy. Thank goodness we're not on the gin or anything like that. We're going to get our first funky guest on to talk to us about business. And it is Donald Boyd from Assets. Donald.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Good evening.
Oh. You all right? Yeah, I promise I'm not going to talk about numbers.
No numbers.
Because I've been so you get slagged rotten for it.
Now,
what's your profession, Donald?
I'm an accountant.
accountant. I've started it. We've started already.
Aye.
We'll get all the dodgy jokes and stereotypes out the way, Donald. But Donald, I've known you for years and years and years, and someone who is perhaps the greatest advocate and supporter of businesses from a professional sense, and that goes beyond the typical remit of an accountant to so much more. We're so delighted to have you joining us on the show this evening, Donald. So, how's the weather up in your part of the town?
Oh, up the south side, it's sky windy up here at the moment, so a wee bit wet. Didn't quite manage my 3K run tonight, Andy.
Oh, well, I've been following you on Strava, Donald, so we'll need to get out for a wee run together and see how we get on. But Donald, thanks so much. Tonight is obviously a business special, and you've been rooted in business in Paisley in the Renfrewshire area. Do you want to tell us a wee bit about yourself and your background and a snapshot of the story to date, Donald?
No problem. I mean, lived all my life in the town, so and I guess probably worked in the big smoke of Glasgow most of the time, working for businesses all over the place. But a number of years ago, I made a career move, and I joined a little accountancy firm at the time, based in 7 Glasgow Road. By name of Campbell Dallas, which was set up by Jim Campbell and Bob Dallas. Great old school accountants, really, well recognised in the local area. Probably their biggest legacy was that they called it Campbell Dallas.
Yeah,
because we didn't want it to be Jim Bob.
They got their branding right, at least, Donald.
Was it in the 70s, round about the Waltons time, and it would have worked quite well?
It was indeed. It was very life in Mars type office environment, Mad Men, that stuff. Would you like a whiskey and a cigarette, sir, as you come into your account?
But all that's changed, of course, Donald. I remember Campbell Dallas, and I knew Bob. In fact, I remember Bob quite well for his crocodile shoes. I don't know why I remember Bob's fancy shoes. But yes, of course, the change in accountancy and the amalgamation accountancy and Campbell Dallas changed, and that business changed as well, didn't it?
Yeah, well, that's it. So it was about 99 that was formed, and that was like a couple of firms getting together, 40, 50 staff, very well known, as I say. But Jim and Bob at the time, they had a vision that why doesn't a local firm look after larger clients? And we've got the ability to do it, because they found that a lot of the international, national firms weren't quite servicing them. So they brought on board a bunch of guys about that time, 99 to 2001, and we were basically told, grow this. So the rest, I guess, is history. We sold the business in 2017 to Assets, as we are known now. So we're very much still a local firm, but with a very large network there, because it's a network of about 100 offices up and down the country. I think as part of that story, we moved to Braehead, and Braehead is really our mothership, certainly in the north. So where I work is the north, so it's going from Manchester all the way up to Aberdeen, and really Braehead is the HQ of that part of the business, with about 250 odd people. So we're very much very large business now, but very much part of the local community, and in each of the areas in the UK that we're in.
Yeah. And that's really good, Donald. You've got those roots in your local communities. You still, I would imagine, service quite a large client base in that regard. And I would imagine folks probably don't change their accountancy partners that often. So you've been able to build really good long-term relationships. But we're in a period of time no one could have predicted with COVID, this pandemic. It's probably had quite a significant impact across the board, Donald. But it'd be good to get an idea of, maybe some of the support, or maybe some of the issues that you've seen coming out of COVID and the pandemic, and some of the the challenges that have that you've been able to help businesses, particularly local Paisley and Renfrewshire businesses, with?
Yeah, I mean, it was this time last year. It was just madness. I know there was a big focus on what was going on from a health point of view, which absolutely number one.
Yep.
But we were living and breathing a pandemic, a crisis, certainly for a good 8 to 10 weeks with our clients and businesses. They didn't have a clue where to go, especially before the furlough scheme was announced. We had clients phoning us up and saying, "They just chuck it, they just wind up." And it was awful, and normally I've got an answer, and I'm quite a positive guy, but I was sitting there going, God, I can just see kids in the street with piles of notes here, like the German Weimar Republic. The whole place seemed to be crumbling around us. But fortunately, there was a whole host of measures that were brought out, from the UK and Scottish government as well. And that was a really challenging time for us. We're effectively, with the budget this week or last week, during March 2020 to about May 2020, we had a budget every day. So we're having to get up first thing in the morning, what's going on, getting the information out there. I mean, it was a real war zone. Plus, we're all working from home like everyone else, so it was a really, really strange situation to be in, because we do pride ourselves as the trusted advisor. I'm the GP, so if you think in the medical term, a client comes to me with their problems. I might not be able to fix them all, but I know someone who might be able to help them, and I can refer them to a specialist or something like that. But that period of time was just utter carnage in the business community. Moving on from that, and all the help and support and getting all the stuff, everything kind of relaxed and calmed down a bit, into July. Other than certain sectors, and my heart goes out to some sectors out there that are still, really struggling, particularly in the local area, in hospitality and leisure. You've got the whole gig economy, you get the music industry. There's a lot of negative things going on still in respect of that. But in the main, other than those sectors, it's been quite a positive story, as we find ourselves today, in terms of, the local businesses. And what we're finding is Paisley's a great place to do business. Paisley's got a lot of fantastic businesses. There's a great business community out there that often support each other.
Oh, hold on, we got a bit of a feedback loop going on with Gary. He's definitely having problems tonight.
Houston Wi-Fi is goose tonight.
Oh, definitely no working there. I was so engrossed, Gary, in what Donald was saying, I didn't actually realise you had frozen on the screen.
I was the same. And I was going to actually say, and I know I was flippantly said, let's not talk about numbers, but when this all kicked off, Donald, my own business was similar to some of your clients, wondering what the hell's going on. Am I going to have a business next week? To be honest, I was a bit head in the sand, and I didn't want to see this coming. I actually went like that and said, look, this isn't coming. It's not coming. It's not coming until one day. And he just had to face up to the reality of it.
Yeah.
And the reality of it was, I need to speak to my accountant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality. So talking numbers was, what are my numbers? Can we get through this? And when furlough kicked in, it was, can you support us with this? Yeah. So the fourth emergency service kicked in, and it was our accountant. It really was.
Yeah, I don't say it flippantly, but certainly the bank managers out there, when the COVID loans came out, I know these guys, they were absolutely burst, working 20-hour days, getting the money out the door. I mean, it was fantastic what actually went on in terms of the support that was there, and obviously the accountants were there for the businesses too. But just never want to live through that again. I mean, it was just absolute madness, when it came to what we were doing and how we're going to advise. And ironically, now we're in a position where we're stepping back and going, right, where do we go now? What we're going to do after lockdown?
And I think that's the biggest challenge, Donald. Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge now is, we're hopefully we're turning the corner. There's lots of blue envelopes dropping through people's letter boxes to get their vaccinations. So the vaccination program runs out. The continual suppression of the virus itself, and then the easing of lockdown measures. So we're at this tipping point. There's no easy answers. We're still very much guessing as we go along, but you would like to think that there's light at the end of the tunnel and we're heading towards that. So we're then going to start to think about recovery and rebuilding, Donald, and maybe even new opportunities coming about through COVID. So it'd be great to get your insight into where you see opportunities or challenges on the horizon line, Donald, as we look out there.
Well, I think in our local community, we've got lots of small businesses, and actually it's the small businesses that I see driving the recovery, because it's them that can actually pivot, transform, change their business very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. We just need to look at the hospitality industry and some of the bars locally as well, that they've been able to flip on to takeaway cocktails and takeaway full 3-course meals and things like that. And that's a kind of micro example of any business, and I think that's probably the good thing that's going to come out of it, because the ability to change your business was coming down the line with various reasons, technology and things like that. And I think it's those businesses that are brave enough to change. And indeed, now's probably the best time to start a business. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would encourage people, and I think that this is what Paisley needs. Paisley needs lots more small businesses, because small businesses, you're better having 200 small businesses employing 2 people than one large employer having 400, that could put lights out tomorrow, know. So, and I think we're in a great position, and you guys, I mean, hats off to you. I've really started taking a great interest in my town, just by the stuff that you've been putting out there. And I know property's at the cornerstone of a lot of things that you're talking about, and I absolutely agree with you. I was just walking up High Street of the weekend, and you see the Buttons building, and you go, what a fantastic building that is. Yeah. And then you go and see there's a bit of graffiti going on and things like that, and you're going, right, guys, we need to kind of move ourselves here. We can't have an Arnott situation where it was boarded up for years before we got something in there. We really, that property needs to get used for something positive, because it's the front window, the cenotaph.
Absolutely, Donald, and hopefully with the new focus, or the now endorsed and rubber stamped focus in town centres, then we're looking hopefully to fast track that change in our town. I think in a lot of ways, I think it get mentioned last week that Paisley's ahead of the curve on the downturn, so we're actually ahead of the curve on the upturn.
On the recovery.
Even through Arnott's closing, Littlewood's closing, Paisley Centre being rubbish. We went through all of that, and we're kind of starting to see a wee bit of the upturn with the Paisley Centre being bought, and with the new town centre action plan, and we're right behind that. Yeah, of course, we can see some green shoots. I don't want to use those old phrases, but they're definitely there.
And there's things we can also campaign for. I mean, as a firm and assets, we've started making noises that there should be something called a retail premises renovation allowance. Mm-hmm. In layman's term, a tax break. So basically, you take a retail premises and you do something that's not retail with it. Yeah. Then if there was tax breaks relating to that, that's what could really transform our town centres. Because I've heard you guys talk so much about retail's not the answer. It's not the answer. Yeah. It's getting businesses in the community, it's getting the resi in the community, it's getting the creatives, and everyone else with that. And I think we're really getting there, because as a great observer of our town, we're in a better position than we've ever been. If we go back 5-10 years, as you say, Gary, that's where probably a lot of towns are going to find themselves in the next year or two. Yeah.
Paisley's going to be the place to look at. So the Keep Your Eye on Paisley thing will be refreshed again this year, because we are coming out of that. We have got ready-made projects. I mean, our Pixel Cinema project is ready to go. Yep. You've got the guys that have invested heavily in the town of buying the Paisley Centre and M&S. I'm sure they've got some transformational plans. They're not going to sit on their hands. No. And I was interested. I was at a seminar today, Donald, at the Scottish Government, which is Scotland's Towns Partnership, and Phil Prentice was speaking at that, and he was speaking about the flip on VAT, and the VAT getting levied on town centre refurbishments. So the guys from Lexcal that were on the other week are probably paying a 20% premium on the redevelopment in a town centre setting, and you go to an out of town setting and it's different.
Yep.
So they're lobbying for that. So it's good that you're lobbying for other things as well, Donald.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that you basically can demolish a building and put flats up and not pay VAT on it. But if you actually renovated the building, you've got to pay VAT on it.
Yeah.
20% cost.
And Donald, I mean, you speak so positively about the town, and you know, Paisley needs more people like you in senior and high positions speaking so positively about the potential that the town has. And you know, we're passionate about Paisley. That's why we, you know, volunteer our time to try and do what we do. So it's great to have you come out with that positive message. And one of your messages there was, now is the time to think about setting up a business. You know, if you've got 200 two-person businesses, that's a really great place to be. So really encouraging to hear that. And you've also taken this opportunity, or another member of your family have taken this opportunity to actually start their own business during this time. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Donald?
If you remember a good wee while back when we were actually allowed to get together for a short period of time, it was the middle of July, and that was my birthday. And we're having a few drinks round at my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's house, and getting towards the end of the evening. And of course, the best ideas come out then. We're talking about, God, there's a Lindsay gin, there's a Dundee gin, there's a Perth gin. God, there's every gin. There's far too many gins out there. And I went, why is there not a Paisley gin? Biggest town in Scotland. Don't know the exact figures, 70,000, 80,000 people.
Yep.
Of course, my brain's working in the background going, I'm doing the numbers, Gary. I'm thinking, right, okay.
Someone doing the numbers, Donald.
Okay, there's 80,000 in Renfrewshire. That's 200,000. God, if you hit 1% of that, that's 2,000 people. So 2,000 people buy a bottle of gin they can resonate with. Right, next week or two, made some phone calls, and Louise, my wife, very much involved in the design of what's now Teardrop Gin. So come up with the design, wanted a beautiful bottle, we wanted beautiful spirit, beautiful liquid. Unfortunately, we're not in a position to, you know, set up a distillery and start distilling. So we've contracted out the liquid. It's still made in Scotland, in Aberdeenshire. It's one of the best small distilleries in Scotland, and we resonate with them because they're doing a lot in their own local community as well. And then we've got Paisley Designer with help with the Paisley e-commerce side of things, you know, that the photography and everything else like that. And we pinched ourselves, I suppose, about mid-September and went, are we really doing this? You know, and it's bizarre. It was a real poacher gamekeeper for me because I've spent my life telling folk what to do, and then never actually done it. So we weren't with Louise. We just went, Joe, well, let's do it. And we hit the button on it, launched it in the end of November, and it's been a great success, I have to say. It's actually surprised me as the bean counter. And it tastes nice. I put a wee silly thing on my Facebook the other day, said it is gin fattening, and I got some feedback that it wasn't. So I gave myself permission to get into the cupboard and have a couple of Teardrop gins. And I was in the freezer. I was actually in the freezer looking for my ice, and I stumbled across frozen berries. I thought, oh, you're meant to do that as well. So I popped the frozen berries in, and I did a couple of Teardrop gins. Very nice, Donald.
Well, we did a live taste test, Donald, on the show a few weeks ago. I can't remember when, but a really nice gin. I like gin as well, and Teardrop has been a great success. So much so, and I don't have the exact correct background on this, but you actually you made the news quite significantly because you actually made it into GQ magazine, Donald, for Teardrop gin.
Yeah, so we're delighted that's happened. I think, again, down to Louise, she's the creative, because creative accountant doesn't necessarily go. So there's all the creative stuff, and the bottles really get noticed out there, which is fantastic. But I'm just really delighted at the support we've had, you know, from the local community, because people are desperate for stuff that is local and is actually people can resonate. We've got the Paisley pattern. And if you can indulge me, I've got a funny story just on that.
Go on.
Funny as an accountant. Round about that time, I went in this kind of business plan premise of 200,000 people, Scotland's best kept secret. You know, how else can we monetize this situation? And so I stumbled across Air Monopoly. And I went, Air? That's 40,000 people. Why have we not got Paisley Monopoly?
All right.
So I thought, right, so again, Google, because barriers to entry these days are absolutely zero. And I found the guys that make it. So I lifted the phone to the guys that make the branded monopolies, you know, your James Bond and your Doctor Who and, you know, whatever it is, and started talking to us. And initially it sounded really good because I thought, right, well, we could get this going, because they've got a way that basically, if you can throw money at them, they'll make monopoly about anything.
Yeah.
So they were really into it, and then I was starting to explain a bit more about Paisley, and unfortunately I found I'd given my intellectual property away. Because they said, right, okay, no problem, Doc, we'll come back to you on that idea. That sounds great. First of all, we'll need to check that it's not in the pipeline for one of our own.
Ah, right, okay, yeah.
You know what happened? Next day they phoned up and go, actually, we've decided Paisley's one that we're going to do ourselves.
Oh my God.
A cautionary tale there, Donald. Don't give away your IP, but I guess on the flip side of that, the suggestion would be that Paisley might have its very own monopoly set at some point.
That's it. How good would that be?
That'd be fantastic. I wonder what's going to be Old Kent Road or Mayfair and Piccadilly.
Train stations.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got
how many train stations have we got? We've got 4.
You've got Canal, you've got Hawkhead, you've got Paisley, Gilmer Street, and you've got St James's.
Yeah.
So we've got our 4 train stations. Paisley Monopoly would be great, wouldn't it? But Donald, your idea, but somebody's...
Well, they'll come knocking for some community help, guys, so...
We'll get them on the show.
You get it right and they don't start putting something...
I'm coming after this. I'm coming after the night. I'm going away. It just didn't leave me the night. I'm getting annoyed. I'm getting frustrated.
What's that, Gary?
I'm getting annoyed.
How come? Because of your technology here?
It keeps kicking me out.
Oh, well, maybe we'll get you on your phone, Gary. But Donald, just before you do go, you know, you put out a very positive message about potentially folks starting up in business. Clearly, assets are local, here to help. But maybe if you've got your top 3 tips or advice or suggestions to anyone that's maybe thinking about setting up their business, what would you recommend, Donald?
I think make sure you've got a decent accountant, of course.
Yeah, of course. Goes without saying, Donald.
Of course. You've really thought it through as well, because some great ideas and lovely creative ideas are just that, and you can't make money out of them. So make sure you've got one eye to where are you going to be in 3 years. If you can't make money in 2.5, 3 years, don't do it.
Yeah.
But if you can see a window and you might have to get some funding in place or whatever, I say go for it. And actually, what we're finding now is there's more and more people in employment that are actually having side hustles and having side hustle businesses there as well. So, as I said to you, the barriers to entry to setting up a business are very, very low. So I would say to people, go for it. There's plenty of support out there. Bob's on later. The stuff that the Chamber do is fantastic. You know, we've got a lot of support from the council and in terms of, you know, help there as well in setting up a business. And, you know, it's just, to me, it's the perfect place to do business. Plenty of places to set up.
Absolutely. Well, listen, that's a fantastic endorsement, folks. If you're interested, follow up with Donald at Assets. That would be great, I'm sure. And if business isn't your thing, and you want to have a drink of gin, Teardrop Gin is always available. And we've got something to look forward to, Paisley Monopoly. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, that's great and really good advice, Donald. And it's been, we could speak all night actually with you, but our overrun has overrun, unfortunately.
We have.
Oh, we didn't even get to the numbers, Gary.
We'll talk to Bob about numbers.
We'll do that way, but we'll take Bob. Donald, thanks once again. You can either hang around or we'll see you later on. All right, Donald.
Right,
Man, Donald.
Cheers.
Thank you. See you later.
Gary, how's your technology? It's playing up tonight.
Do you know what? See, every time it's windy, and this is true. There's a wind that comes in from the Houston direction. It blows my technology kind of skew with. I should have went into the office. I think it's safer in an office.
You might be safer in the office. Well, listen, we're going to crack on because we're going to come to our question of the week. But wasn't Donald fantastic? Very positive about Paisley. Great to hear the story of Campbell Dallas, coming from Glasgow Road in the town and still remaining and supporting local businesses. But, the key thing is it has been a tough time. Folk do turn to, as you said, Gary, Fourth Emergency Service, the accountant. Hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel. And as Donald says, now's a great chance to think about setting up your own business. And there's lots of national business support organisations out there that will help you in that journey. And we've been pushing a big support local. So if you're thinking about setting up your own business, contact the chat show. We'll get you on as well. And lastly, Gary.
Yeah, and we're networked as well, Andy. And in fact, talking about business and that word network, when I first started out, that sort of phraseology is actually one of the barriers when I started out. So I'm 20 years in business now. And it was about network. Wow. Yeah. What does it mean? And you walk into a room of people, and they're all business people. And the first step you take when you're introduced to a business person, is that they're not a business person; they're just a person. And that was one of the biggest lessons and one of the fears that I got over really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So if I was advising someone to start in business, I would just say to them, "Go for it. Get the idea, get off and running." And people are people. Every walk of life, people are just people. They've got the same fears, they've got the same ambitions, they've got families, they've got their mortgages. They're all the same. Go and interact with them, and that becomes your network.
Yep, absolutely. Great message out there, Gary. And yeah, if you're thinking of doing that, we wish you all the very best of luck. There's some great organisations out there, organisations like Elevator, organisations like Business Gateway out there. Get out and network. We can't do that right now, Gary, but when you can, get out and network. So a good message there.
Any great business ideas, come to us, and we'll do what Monopoly guys did. If they're good enough, we'll steal them.
Talking about Monopoly, Gary, right? I've got a list of all the places on the Monopoly board, right? You've got Old Kent Road, Whitechapel, you've got Euston Road, Pentonville Road, Pall Mall, Whitehall, Northumberland Avenue. I won't go through them all. Yeah. But folks, if you're watching tonight and you've got suggestions of what names could be what names on a Paisley Monopoly board, it'd be great to hear. You get Park Lane and Mayfair. Those are the two top dollar ones. So it'd be interesting.
Let's answer that one.
You want to go at that one, Gary?
I can if you want. I mean, that's as a perception that you need money to start a business.
Well,
it helps. But if you've got a service and you've got things that you can make, and I get challenged on this when I started my business. The only thing I bought in my business was a laptop computer.
Yeah,
and I had a skill and I had a service and I went out and sold it. And businesses, if you've got a service or a product that someone wants to buy and pay money, you've got a business. So start slow, partner, sell stuff, get on the internet, buy for somebody and sell it. Business is all multifaceted and you don't necessarily need money.
You don't need money at all. I would back that up, Gary. What you need is customers. You need customers to be in business. And what do you need to be able to provide them? Well, you need to understand what their pain points are, where the challenges are. And if you can provide a product or a service that meets the needs and wants of your customer, you've got a business, and the money is that's a secondary thing altogether. You've got to be focused on what solutions you can deliver to your customers. But anyway, folks, we're going to be bringing Bob on soon, and I'm sure we'll delve into what makes a business and what do you need, and Bob will be great at covering his views on that. We're getting some suggestions coming in for well, I don't know what roads you're thinking. These are good roads, but what ones would you pair them up with, Roddy? So Gallagher Road, Seathill Road, what would you pair them up with? Are they the Strand and Fleet Street? Or are they more a sort of Old Kent Road and Whitechapel? What would you pair them up with, Roddy? That's what we want to hear. What street?
Andy, what one was Whitehall? Was Whitehall one of them? Whitehall?
Old Kent Road and Whitechapel.
Oh, I thought you said Whitehall. Because we've got Whitehall. Whitehall. We could have that.
Pall Mall and Whitehall. And of course, Olivia is quite correct here. We've got the Sheriff Court, which is the jail. So we do have a jail as well.
We could have a Paisley Moan corner, and we could talk about the old jail. Why do they not bring back the old jail?
I've got a great idea. Why is it not called Paisley Community Trust Chest? You know, you get chest.
There you go.
Community Trust Chest. Right, anyway, listen, we're wittering on, and we've got a show to do tonight, Gary. So without ado...
We can't overrun, because we need to kick Bob off. Bob will have to get off at the end.
And I'm not even going to introduce you. I'm just going to bring you on screen, Annette, but you're on mute, so we can't hear you right now.
I was actually just waiting for my name to be called out and just say, Annette, that's a project for you.
Well, but isn't that a great idea, Annette? Imagine a Paisley monopoly.
I know, fantastic idea, definitely. It's just a shame he just gave it away there, but you know, it doesn't matter.
I know, and listen, I'm sure Donald will be able to regale that story to his great grandchildren about how he came up with the idea, and we were all there to hear it and witness it, so we do know that.
Yeah.
So anyway, Annette, how are you doing this week?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I was just thinking about our question for this week. It's all about the future town centre vision, and how we can get the community to value our community and to look after it and enjoy it. And then I heard your bit at the beginning, and I seen the bit at the beginning about how people were vandalising all the good stuff that we're doing. So I had a wee chat with Gary offline, and I was saying I was really angry. And I can't believe the emotion that I was feeling about it.
Yeah.
But, so I think I'm behind your message about let's start valuing the great stuff that we've got. But in terms of the question itself, so what we asked was, should Paisley have more community green space around the town centre? And again, fantastic response, fantastic conversation that was online. So the result was, have you got it?
Yep.
So it's 95% said yes, we should have more community space, more community green space. And the kind of reasons behind that was about enjoying the environment, improving the health, encouraging tourism, you know, and having more areas for them to sit around and enjoy. Could you see it?
I was going to put that up on the screen there, Gary, because it was quite a face with you. I quite like those glasses, Gary.
You like them? You like them? I went to my optician. Is that what you call them? My glaziers. I went to my glaziers, and I was getting my other ones fixed. And they said I've got a pair of these glasses. I think you might like them. I went, oh, why is that? Says they're called Visage. I went, oh,
right, okay.
I'll have them.
Well, you're definitely looking quite swanky, right? Annette, back to you. You've gone for a pie chart rather than a graph, but still a great response. A great response.
Yeah, so just one of the things that really did come out of the communication and the conversation that was happening, and someone who says yes, they want more green space, but they want it to be community development approach, so that the area themselves actually create what they want and where they want, and therefore they're bought into it, and the generations that then take over it are also bought into it. And that's the thing that we need to get, that the younger generation, the people that are damaging what we've got just now, getting a bit of pride in it again.
Yeah.
All right. So from that, another part came out around, actually, if we do have all these green spaces, what about the toilets? Where are we going to go and do the toilet? I'm like, all right, okay. So they talked about actually a lot of the places that are actually shut just now. So they would go to the Paisley Town Centre, the Piazza, the pubs, but they're all shut. So one of the questions that they asked was, then should we open the old toilets that were actually in Dun Square? So I know there's a lot of development happening in Dun Square just now, but I don't know if it's actually including the 2 sets of toilets that are there.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows that's on the show or listening, but the question out to the community this week is, should the public toilets in Dun Square be reopened in the Paisley Town Centre?
Oh, that's quite a question, isn't it? Because, I mean, public toilets are so vital anywhere that you go now, and particularly the types of facilities that these public toilets need to have for people with varying needs and requirements. So it's a great question. So this is about potentially bringing back those Dun Square toilets in the town.
Yes, that's a really interesting question, actually, and that picture is stunning. I mean, that's really stunning. But see what that bit reminds me of. I don't know if you've ever been down to London and hovered in and around Trafalgar Square, and you're looking up towards the National Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Down below there's a cafe.
Right.
Now see that there. If you're coming up from Dun Square. Up for Dun Square, up on the High Street, there.
That's what that picture reminds you about. When you were talking about hovering about, I thought you were going to say toilets down in London, Gary, and that's the last place I would ever be hovering about, to be honest. But thank you for filling in the rest of the.
Well, thanks, Andy, for just.
But I've got memories of being a wee boy in Paisley and remembering that those toilets were open, but I can remember it wasn't a place that it was a bit dark and a bit smelly. And I mean, obviously, if they were to be brought back, they would be modern, plush, hygienic facilities that we're talking about.
Yeah. And again, well looked after. You know, it's also about making sure that we protect them and that they're serviced and the community look after them. But we did talk about sorry.
Of course, there might be technical issues in it that we don't know about, but it's a good question. It's all right to ask it.
We had a wee brainwave as well, didn't we, about possibly having the community and the shops and the restaurants also allowing people to come in. So maybe creating a Paisley, you can be here badge in their windows to say, actually, you can come in. So tourists are often scared to go into restaurants because they think that they have to buy. But if our community allows people to use their facilities, then that would be fantastic as well. So we can maybe come up with something like that.
Yeah. And some comments coming in on social media already. Gary's dipping in and out there, but Provost, thanks for joining us this evening. Provost Cameron, great to see you as always. This is something that Lorraine's asked about before. They can't be made accessible for all. I guess ultimately, budget would dictate that. I guess, if there was enough budget, and there's always going to be an engineering or an architectural solution to these things that will be more expensive to maybe put an accessible lift from the top of the down into that. But you would imagine that architecturally or engineering, there's bound to be a solution. We've got really, really bright firms out there. So I guess a bit of budget, but ultimately, I guess, what's the public need? Do we have to have, or would we like town centre toilets back and running? So it's a great question from our community, I guess. Yeah. That's the whole point of this. If you've got a question, all of you who are taking part in this evening, watching this evening, active on Facebook, if you've got a question, post it up or send it through to Paisley Community Trust. Annette will pick that up, and you could be featuring in our next question of the week. But
yeah, I'm just going to say, Andy, if you've got a question that you're just bursting to ask, then you should.
Yeah, I just burst. I see what you did there, Gary. Before you go, Annette, I want to do my QR magic. This is my magic spot of the show every week. So, folks, if you're watching this evening and you're not watching on your smart device, but you've got your smartphone free and available, get out your smartphone, get the camera onto it. So you got your camera onto it, and then hold it up to the screen now. You're holding it up. A wee QR code is going to try and open a website. Click on that. And if I've got the right one, you should be able to see the Paisley Community Trust question of the week, lack of toilets. Click OK, answer the question, and that's you. As simple as that. Isn't that just magic, folks?
What for me this week, Andy?
You taking selfies there, Gary, with your new glasses on?
No, I did the thing.
And it does happen because I get notifications straight away.
Oh, do you? Well,
yeah, because it's people are doing it. So.
And there's an interesting thing then, Lorraine. Thanks for your comment again, Lorraine. Timely question from our wonderful community.
Excellent. Fantastic. It's always, and that's, I tell you what, Gary, this is the other thing that I like about this show, because we know we have got some brilliant people who watch. We've got people like the Provost there who's just commented. We've got Councillor Devine. There's other councillors and Renfrewshire Council staff. There's other organisations that are out there, Star Project, all these brilliant folk that join us every week. And if there is a question raised, we can pretty much within the space of a couple of minutes get it answered, because Lorraine will come back straight away to be able to. That's not
a joke. That's not a joke.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
That's not a joke. That see me been saying about being bursting, and then Lorraine comes in with another funny.
Talking about passing emotion.
It's just not right.
Lorraine, don't encourage him.
It's a fun show. It's a family show, but it's great. It's great. Yes. Paul's
thanks for being so diligent, and also again, Annette, you had a big membership push the other week there, and that has been just going great guns. We've been getting so many folk signing up to become members of Paisley Community Trust. So Annette, well done on all that. You've been great results.
No problem. It's great to be involved. It's great seeing it, and we've got some really great people kind of being want to come and learn more about it and get involved in the projects and offer their skills. So it's brilliant.
Yeah, great, and great again, Annette. And watch out for question of the week next week.
Absolutely, Annette. Until next time, we'll see you later.
I know, overrun. We're overrun. You overrun, please, for telling us we've overrun.
Well, listen, Gary, it's great. Fantastic interaction from all of our guests this evening. Jokes included as well at no extra charge.
I know, and I'm going to apologise in advance for not being here in 6.5 minutes when my internet kicks out again. But in the meantime, apologies to Bob, who's been waiting patiently, as if we've done it deliberate. But our overrun, unfortunately, again, Andy, has overran.
So it's what happens when we speak to fantastic people. We just want to talk to them for an awful lot longer. But we're going to go to Mission Control in Houston and bring in the one and only Bob Grant. Bob.
Evening, gents. How are we?
Evening, Bob. How's it going?
Yes, very good. I'm actually at the launch pad tonight. I'm at the Chamber office in Glasgow Airport. So.
Oh, yeah, well. I believe there's a dodgy gremlin going about. I've seen it on dispatches about the internet going down all over the place, and I must be getting hit with it.
Very windy where you are, I think, tonight, Gary.
Lots of wind with Gary as always, and there was Roddy mentioning I keep freezing. I look okay, but clearly we're having some technology gremlins with us tonight. So, folks, just bear with us. We'll get through it. But Bob, thank you so much for coming on the show this evening. How are you? Are you doing well? Are you keeping safe?
Yeah, doing well and keeping safe, Andy. And thanks very much for having me on. I've been a real fan of what you guys have been doing over the last 40 odd weeks, and there's been a few highlights for me. I think the session you did with the guys from 360 Architecture. Fantastic, that whole regeneration one, the Pirelli with Enzo and Alfredo. That was fantastic. I was being a wee joke earlier. I'm a huge fan of Pirelli's products, as you can probably tell. And the Engage Renfrewshire session you've had last year as well was brilliant. You know, so I've always tried to drop in whenever we can. So I think you both. Congratulations for keeping everybody going through.
Well, thanks, Bob. And times, you know? You've been waiting patiently in your invite to come on the show. You must have thought, when are they going to ask me?
Some things are worth waiting for, Gary, maybe, but it's all downhill from here.
Absolutely. As we're coming out of the pandemic, Bob, we thought, let's get the good news guys on. Let's get the fun guys on.
Absolutely.
You first.
Well, listen, Bob, you know, some folk may not know who you are or what your role is within Renfrewshire, so it'd be great if you just gave us a wee bit of an overview of who you are and what you do, Bob.
Sure, yeah. So I head up Renfrewshire Chamber. We're based at Glasgow Airport, and the Chamber is, I suppose, the main business membership organisation for the whole of Renfrewshire. So we're very much involved in supporting businesses. Our members make connections. We were talking about networking earlier, and Gary was sharing some of his experiences. So that's a very big part of what we do. We're very much part of a support eco-structure, if you like, ecosystem within Renfrewshire, so we can help you make connections at whatever stage of business you may be in. Our members range from sole trader, accountant, lawyer, professional services, up to really the majority of the big employers in Renfrewshire will have a connection. So the university, West College Scotland, Renfrewshire Council is a key employer. So very much, I suppose, a coordinating role, cheerleading. I'm not going to start waving my pom-poms. You're okay there, but
it's a family show, Bob.
Exactly, but acting as I suppose a champion for all that's good about Renfrewshire in terms of setting up a business, employing staff, training your people, and Renfrewshire as a place to do business is incredible, really. You know, for a town, the infrastructure and the connections that we have an airport, we have the fourth busiest train station in Scotland, we've got a university, we've got a college, we've got companies who export over £2 billion worth of goods a year from Renfrewshire alone, and that blew me away.
Wow, yeah.
So there's an awful lot going for Renfrewshire, and we're delighted to be part of that landscape.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear some of that, Bob. I didn't know that number. So you've come on straight away and you spoke about the numbers. I'm interested in a number as a membership organisation. What's the reach and the potential reach of the Chamber of Commerce, and what's your membership numbers like?
So our membership numbers currently, Gary, we're about 580 members. That's been a fairly steady number. Very much a wide mix of businesses. Interestingly, every school in Renfrewshire is a member at the Chamber, and that's a really unique partnership, actually. That's funded by the education team at Renfrewshire Council, and we work very closely with them. And one of the reasons why that's such a successful partnership, I mean, that really gives young people a link into business, but also gives businesses a link into young people. So we'll get involved in helping companies go into schools, speak about their industry. Could be manufacturing, could be using STEM in the business or working environment. We'll get involved in mentoring young people, thinking about interview skills, how you should go about applying for a job. So probably in our membership, we reckon probably representing in the region of about 25 to 30,000 employees in Renfrewshire. So it's fairly wide patch that we operate in.
It's a significant number, and you know, we talked about young people on the show earlier on about, you know, maybe this time being particularly tough for them. They're maybe being worried about their future, and you know, education has been completely disrupted, of course, as well. But there are initiatives out there. The Kickstart scheme, Bob, is something that I know that you're quite involved in, and it's really providing a brilliant opportunity for our young people. Do you want to tell us a wee bit more about that, Bob?
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I think as most people would acknowledge, our young people have been the most affected, I suppose, by the economic impacts and also the learning impacts. And when you think of sectors such as hospitality taking such a big hit, hospitality is a great learning ground for young people. A lot of people get their first jobs there, first experience dealing with customers, dealing with management. So having that taken out the career path can be a real challenge. So the Kickstart programme, and that's something that's funded by UK government through DWP, and basically it offers a young person between the age of 16 and 24 a guaranteed work placement, fully paid at national minimum wage, 25 hours a week for 6 months. And really the only qualifier is that you have to be on universal credit. You could be on signing on for a day and then you qualify. So it's a fantastic opportunity. We're hoping to offer up to 700 places for young people up to the end of December. So that's been delivered in a partnership with the Invest in Renfrewshire team at Renfrewshire Council, Engage Renfrewshire as well. So 3 partners, and that's part of a wider youth guarantee offer, young persons guarantee, which has just been launched this week actually, again with Renfrewshire Council, Invest in Renfrewshire, Skills Development Scotland are heavily involved, as the college and the university, among others, developing the young workforce. So that, there's a lot of support out there now. I mean, Renfrewshire has always had a good employability offer. The Invest in Renfrewshire programme, when that first came along, that was groundbreaking, and really that was responsible for taking Renfrewshire's young people really up that league table in terms of career opportunities. So much so it got to the point, actually got a lot harder to find young people to employ because the programme was so successful. But I think everybody recognises now the challenge is back on, and so important to get our young people back out to work so they don't miss out in the opportunities because of the pandemic.
Yeah, we've got.
That's a strong message, Bob, and how it's how young people can connect into that, and you being connected into the local business world and being a hub for that. And have you noticed particular challenges, or what are the themes that are coming out through COVID that you've noticed or that you're actually providing support for?
Yeah, I mean, touching on Donald's point earlier, a lot of our members are SME members, so smaller businesses, and the big challenge for managers or owners, directors in these businesses is actually having the time to step out their business and actually think, right, okay, we don't want to be doing that. We need to stop and go and do something else to adapt or pivot. As somebody gave me an analogy the other day, it's trying to think strategically what you should be doing. It's asking the question, if you imagine a ladder leaning against a building, it's not about how well or how quickly you're running up the ladder. It's about, actually, is my ladder leaning against the right building, or should I be leaning over another building? So there's 4 or 5 key areas we've found companies have really been looking for some support. So in the summer, the Chamber Board committed reserves, our own reserves, to develop and pay for a programme really to help businesses change, adapt, develop resilience, change direction, Gary. So we've called that a Transform programme, and it's been delivering a whole series of workshops, all free, for Chamber members around leadership, digital technology, and perfect timing, Gary. Well done. Good to see your text working there. Green recovery, strategy.
Don't think I've got that one, Bob.
Okay, I'll send you that one.
Well,
And, mental health and well-being. There we go. And they, the response we've had has been fantastic. I mean, we've probably had about 500 people through these programs already, and we've had some great examples of where businesses have been able to take some of that learning, which, to be honest, is really just a quick snapshot of that subject, but actually adapt it to their business there and then, and actually see real benefits. And that's great to see, and that's really a key part of what the chamber is here for, really to help the community adapt and change and see the opportunities.
And we spoke, and we were chatting with Donald earlier on, and such a positive message coming through from Donald in terms of, this is a great opportunity to think about starting up your own businesses. You've talked about that ecosystem of support, Bob, that's out there, and the chamber plays a really vital part in that within Renfrewshire. If you are either thinking of starting up a business, or if you're thinking of maybe getting through and coming out the other end, the chamber, along with others, are there to try and help with any business or entrepreneur on that journey, Bob.
Yep, 100%, and we're very much geared up to support, and there's loads of ways we can do that. I touched on the networking, making connections. I mean, last year we've ended up doing about 100 events, all online. So we've doubled the number of events we've been able to do, and really to help people make connections online. It's still not as satisfying as being able to do it face to face. Let's face it. No pun intended, but hopefully it won't be too long before we get back to that. But just that support. Another program we offer, really relevant to any business, but it can be very useful for new businesses, is our mentoring program. So essentially we have a number of experienced business people, our mentors, who have volunteered their time to support companies at all different stages of their life. And again, it's around maybe kind of 3 or 4 kind of key themes that we look for mentors. And that is a program that we reintroduced in the summer, and I think we've had about 40 odd companies coming through that program since the summer. We're always on the lookout for more experienced business mentors. So Andy and Gary would be delighted to welcome you both into the program. I know you're both busy men, but you both have some excellent experience to share. So if we can sign you up after the show, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
I was
on the hook.
I was a mentor at one time, Bob, and it's if you can connect to the right people in the right business, and the most advice that I gave is I'm not here to advise you. Ask me something and I tell you what I did, and tell you what my experience of it was. But really, it's your decision. But there are lessons to learn. And when I was talking to Donald earlier about who I picked the phone up to at the start of the pandemic, so there was accountant and Bob Grant. So because I knew I had to access some advice. So if you've not been to a chamber event all year and you're a member and you're in a bit of bother and you're wondering where to turn to, you phone up Bob Grant and you say, look, this is what I'm thinking about, Bob. And I get put straight onto the HR advice helpline that's free through your membership in the chamber. And it's invaluable. That piece of advice and signposting alone is worth the membership.
Yep.
And you've not spoken about some of the free stuff, Bob, tonight, and maybe you can expand on that one and some others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a whole host of services that you can tap into. Membership at the chamber starts from about £125, which we feel is very good value. But all kinds of support. So HR, you can get up to date access to HR policies, documents. There's a 24-hour helpline. So if you do have an issue, for example, with somebody in your team, you can speak to an expert before you maybe re-engage with that person. And let's face it, maybe taking a wee breath sometimes is a useful thing to do. So all kinds of ways we can support. We can help with profile. We've got some great kind of channels, but also I suppose connecting with partners. There's some fantastic wider organisations in Renfrewshire. The university have been doing fantastic stuff in terms of how they've responded as an organisation, as have West College Scotland, as have Renfrewshire Council. You know, I mean, some of the speed that the economic development teams got funding out to companies was absolutely fantastic to see. Yeah. And Renfrewshire was up in one of the top 3 or 4 in terms of how quickly that money got out to our businesses, and just, you know, a fantastic response all round to the pandemics.
Yeah, and I think that's, you know, the one thing that I really like about this show is, you know, it's our job, I guess, to shine the spotlight on lots of different organisations within Paisley and Renfrewshire, because, you know, I hope that we provide a wee bit of kind of insight into to things that folk might not have known about. But if you are thinking about setting up a business, or you are already running a business, and if you don't know of the work that the Chamber does, you're now on the radar. And you're there as a support organisation to see the very best. And ultimately what you've said there is there's the opportunity to tap into some of the other groups, you know, whether it's tapping into the college or the university or the council and their economic region body, whatever it might be. You know, the Chamber's a good, you know, calling point in terms of starting off that journey, Bob. So I think ultimately, as we look positively towards the future for Paisley, you know, in Renfrewshire, we are going to come out of COVID, fingers crossed. It happens sooner rather than later. Clearly, there's some sectors that have been poorly impacted and will have a larger or longer recovery ahead of them than some others. There's going to be opportunity out there for some businesses, but generally speaking, Bob, what's your advice for the business community in Paisley and in Renfrewshire as we start to look out a little bit beyond COVID? What would be your general advice for the business community, Bob?
I think a really important thing is to, if you can, is to take that step back and have a look around you and think, is there another direction that we can go in? Is there maybe a product or service that might be quite a small contribution to our bottom line at the moment? Does that have potential to really grow over the coming years? I think adapting and taking advantage of digital technology is massive, and probably that's been the number one change. So, you know, the Chamber as a business, we've completely changed how we operate. You know, we're a not-for-profit business, but we're also, as my board like to remind me, a not-for-loss organisation as well. You know, so we do operate independently as a business. So we've had to completely change, as have most businesses. You know, working from home, how you connect online, but also your business processes. So there's real growth in automation and artificial intelligence and doing things more efficiently. I think businesses have adopted digital technology about kind of 6 years worth in the space of 6 months. But there are businesses who are actually in a better place now because of the pandemic, because they've gone through that pain to tackle and grow in the future than they were a year ago. And that, you know, business people they're so pragmatic. Business has done what it's always done. It's adapted, it's taken stock, adapted, and it's overcome in many ways, you know, and it's found different ways to operate. And that's such a great thing to see from our community in Renfrewshire.
Just mentioning community there as well, Bob, and the purpose for Paisley Community Trust, and that you connected into that conversation, the wider context in Scotland's towns and all of that. Have you been connected into that and listening to that?
Yeah, 100%, Gary. And I think Paisley is a great opportunity to be a real exemplar for what the community can achieve, and the way, you know, you've both and through your board with Community Trust and the members have really kept that in the spotlight. I think has been brilliant, you know. So the work that's been done on the wider level through Scotland's Towns Partnership and Phil Prentice is excellent, and you know, certainly we feel there's a real opportunity to be demonstrating how that can work in Paisley, and you already see the signs from different partners, different organisations investing in the town. You know, you have the town hall being refurbished, you have the museum coming online soon. You've got the new library. It's going to take all the different organisations to be pulling together, and I've got no doubt that'll happen. It's already happening. So I think there's an awful lot of opportunity.
Absolutely, and even in the high street, Bob, you know, we've seen the Paisley Centre and Marks and Spencer's being acquired by a company, and myself and Gary have chatted with the folks behind that, and we're really confident in their intentions for the town. You know, some of the things that they're thinking, some of the things that they want to do, and this is investment, you know, and that's really encouraging. As you say, there's a lot of key players, and I don't think Donald mentioned it, and Gary I think mentioned it earlier on. Paisley and Renfrewshire, it's at such a point of potential right now, and we've got great folks rolling up their sleeves, working really hard. And it's a brilliant business a brilliant location to think about doing business, locating your business and growing your business. And with organisations like yourself and Donald and so on, we're really spoiled as it goes. So great to have you on, Bob. There was one question that came in, so we'll just get this answered quickly, because I think, let me just see, Michael asked the question, does your business have to be registered in Renfrew, I guess, to become a member of the Chamber of Commerce? For yours, Bob? Yep,
no, you don't, Michael. So your business can be located anywhere in the UK or anywhere in the world. I mean, inevitably, the majority of our members are in Renfrewshire, but we have members as far away as Cornwall, believe it or not. So we're completely open. We'd be delighted to have you on board.
Great. Excellent.
Great to hear you. Great messages tonight, Bob. Appreciate you coming on, and I know you've got a journey home. Safe journey in the wind. Hope you get home safe. But really appreciate you coming on tonight with that really positive message about business in Renfrewshire. Thanks so much, Bob.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Andy.
Again. Cheers, Bob. See you later on. Well, that was really encouraging from both Donald and Bob in terms of the state of play of business. That figure that Bob gave, 2 billion in exports coming out of Renfrewshire. There's some really cracking companies in Renfrewshire, Gary. There really is.
Yeah, there's some companies in Renfrewshire, Andy, that you wouldn't necessarily think are in Renfrewshire. Yeah. So you've got Diageo out towards Braehead, are a Renfrewshire-based organisation. So they're an exporter. So they've got they need export documents. I know the Chamber service that as well. So you've got big numbers, and the institutions that we've got in Renfrewshire are massive. And I know how well connected Paisley and Renfrewshire is to Scotland, UK, and across the world. It's the best place to do business.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got an international airport, Paisley International Airport, on our doorstep, Gary. We get a fantastic motorway network, M8, straight along into, what's that town along the way? Glasgow, isn't it? Glasgow, Edinburgh, and then you can. So it's a fantastic place, and a very encouraging message from both Bob and Donald. If you're in the business of thinking about starting up a business, then now is your time, now is your opportunity. We would wholeheartedly encourage that. Tap into that ecosystem of support that's out there.
And you'll help if you've got something that you've. Who was that guy that was on your show the other night? And can I speak to him because I've got this idea? Then we'll help you out. We'll signpost you and point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. And comments flying in this evening. We're thinking that the export figures will dramatically increase once we start selling the Paisley merch. We'll be doing huge numbers over to Chicago, Paul, I reckon. We'll be buying in bulk. Gary, have you crashed again tonight? Gary has.
No what? I'm still here.
Oh, Gary, you need to sort your internet out. It's definitely the wind, I think.
It is the wind. Here's what I'll do. So I've got this couple of 50p's for my meter, and I'll sort it out. But it's not hard. It is the wind, Andy, and I honestly didn't think the weather would have affected the broadband like that, but it has. But it done well tonight. That was a really. You find that interesting, Andy? That subject's interesting to me. Business and interacting. And That was a great show. Great from Donald, great from Bob. Appreciate both of them coming on.
It was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. So, and thanks everyone for tuning in, for watching, for all your wonderful comments. We've put a couple of posts up there in terms of links that you want to click on if you need to find out a little bit more about the Kickstart campaign and various other things. But thanks for tuning in. We're going to have a fantastic show. What have we got on next week, Gary? Can you remember?
Back to the community, Andy. We've got a local community show next week. We've got John's coming on to tell the story of Fergusley's Renaissance.
Wow.
And we've got a local autism charity coming on to tell us about their story and how we can all help there. So it's going to be a really local focus next week. Looking forward to it again. I hope John's kitchen doesn't blow up this time.
Can't be having that, Gary. Well, listen, our overrun is overrun. This is now an hour and a half show, Gary, but we're right on time for that. So I think what we need to say is, good night, folks. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Good night, all.
Bye now.